right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Reactionary Opinions. We have a fantastic episode for you this evening. We have a special guest. Myself and Russell are running the show this evening. Dylan is currently visiting the motherland of Alaska, where clearly they don't have internet. So he is going to be sitting out for the next few weeks until he gets back from the motherland to the back home to the mother city. So guest evening. Before we get into our guest this evening, hang on a second. I have got the meme of the week. Okay, our guest probably doesn't even know what memes are, but anyway.
I do. Anyway. Only barely.
So here's the meme of the week.
Don't understand.
It's a guy standing in front of a chessboard, and it says, "Humans create the Titanic, iceberg destroys it. Humans create global warming." Outstanding move there. I thought that was quite a funny meme there. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, our guest is actually the lady that gave myself and Russell birth, our one and only, our very special lady, our mother, Barbara McLaren. The reason why we have her on the show this evening is because we're going to be talking about what my mother did for about 26 odd years. My mother was a teacher, specifically a teacher in a government school for many, many, many years, and she has a lot of experience with regards to how things went down. I don't know much about what we're going to be talking about this evening, so Russell is going to be kind of running the show. So without further ado, welcome, Mom. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself before Russell takes over?
Okay, well, I'm primarily a biology or life science teacher, and but ended up teaching physical science at a government school, fairly rural government school, former Model C school. So, yeah, and I recently retired about a year ago. Yeah. That's cool. About it.
Yeah,
awesome.
Look, for those of you who are wondering why we got our mother on the show, it wasn't all just because we love our mother so much. It was it wasn't just, all right. The main reason is because education and the education system in South Africa is a hotly debated and contested issue, and it's very, very seldom that we actually get a school teacher in the classroom at grassroots giving their experiences. So this is an opportunity for our listeners to actually hear from a teacher on the ground who actually went through all the changes the last 25 years. And what we're going to do is we're going to build a greater picture as to what the experiences that my mom had in the classroom over the years, the various challenges, etc., is what we're going to just delve into. Mom, look, I know that you started teaching just as the new dispensation arrived in the new South Africa. Can you give us just a brief a timeline as far? We're starting in about the mid-90s when you started teaching at that school. Just the major highlights over where things changed.
Okay, I started teaching at Cathcart High School in 1996, and at that time, everything was much the same as it had been for however long. We still had higher grade, standard grade. We still had very little government interference. Very little admin. We were able to basically just teach and set our own exams, and except for matric. And then they brought in.
Sorry, you're tapping the computer or something, and it's picking up on the mic. It's very distracting.
Then they brought in OBE, which was in about 2000 and, let me get this, yeah, about 2005 it started, and that was the most ridiculous. I'm sure every teacher that had to use it knows it really was a cumbersome system. You had to write down all the different outcomes that you had that you were expecting. I can't even remember. It was so involved. It was really a very silly setup. And then at that time, they also took away higher grade, standard grade, and they combined everything into the one level, which is somewhere, to my estimation, it's somewhere between standard grade and higher grade. So that's really the level of the curriculum as it still is today. But then they brought in about, I think it was about, I stand to be corrected because I really can't remember, it was about 2012, somewhere around there. They brought in the CAPS curriculum. I don't even know what it stands for. I've forgotten all these things. CAPS setup, which was just a little bit more streamlined. It was a bit easier to apply, but the whole problem is that they've had so many changes over the years, and then every time they bring in a new change, then they've got to do teacher training, and they take teachers out the classroom, and there's just so much admin. And now, as it stands now, there's a huge amount of admin that teachers have to do. I think every teacher at a government school will talk about the amount of admin that there is, in addition to everything else that they have to do. So, yeah, it's become, in my opinion, it's become less child-centered and more exam and test-centered. And yeah, to me, it's a lot of it is a lot of window dressing. It's not allowing teachers to really teach the way it is now. And I'm talking about what I only taught grades 10, 11, and 12 in the last 10 years at least. And so I can't really speak for lower down in the school, but there was a lot of unnecessary stuff that they've brought in over the years. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, the thing is, a lot of these, one of the things that you mentioned where it was less child-centered, when you mean it's less child-centered, does that mean that if you are teaching in the classroom, you don't have as much resources to put into the children? You've just got to like regurgitate more and be caught up in other sort of activities. In other words, you're not inputting into the child much. You're just following processes and ticking boxes.
Yeah, that's what I would say, because now they have these actually they've brought it in for quite a few levels since the CAPS setup. They've got this so-called moderation where you have to go to another school, and teachers from that district sit together, and it's supposed to be with a subject advisor. We're supposed to moderate each other's work, and any teacher will tell you that it's just a farce. It just takes time away from the classroom, time away from the kids. Bad for discipline, bad for control. Yeah, it's just, and then like they'll have these moderations, like you have to leave school at say 11:30 to get there at 12, which cuts out hours from the teaching, from your teaching day. You know, stuff like that. It's,
Yeah. I remember
compared
one
to
of the
years
things.
ago.
Yeah, one of the things I remember as a school kid through primary and high school was the only type of quality control that I remember. Obviously, I was a school kid. I didn't know it from a teacher's perspective, but the only form of quality control at the schools, in other words, who was overseeing the school, was the department would send an inspector around. And I don't know what the inspector actually did. Uh,
Well,
he spent the day. He seemed to spend the whole day or two, with the headmaster and HODs, and that sort of thing. But I don't know what they actually did. And that was about the only quality control that I, as a school kid, could remember.
well,
You know,
I never experienced school inspectors in South Africa because I didn't teach in I didn't teach at a government school in South Africa before '96. So, but from what people have told me, and I can believe that the inspectors were much more effective than what we've got now, which are so-called subject advisors, which we're supposed to, like I say, when you go for these moderations, we're supposed to get input from them, and they're supposed to check that you're doing everything right, and it's so open to abuse. It's not funny.
Also, I mean, the thing is, if you think about it, if a school inspector comes to a school, you can actually gauge, you can start seeing stuff, you can actually see what's going on. It doesn't means that teachers can carry on teaching, they get along with their day.
Yeah.
They don't have to pull they don't have to pull teachers out of classrooms. They can sit with the HO. These school inspectors, they are ex-teachers and headmasters and deputy headmasters and headmistresses and what have you. They were former trained educators with lots of experience. They can pick up quickly if there's something wrong. They didn't. I can actually see that. I can't see how sending a whole lot of teachers off to moderate each other in
With a
some sort of
subject advisor there who doesn't really
yeah.
cannot look at, say, 8 to 10 different teachers' work within a couple of hours. It's impossible.
No.
So you can get away.
Rather have I mean, the thing is this. The school inspector could easily have just rocked up at a school, not disrupt anything. What I do remember is the school inspector. You saw him, but there was no disruption because he was there. Just kind of you just knew they were there. That was it. Your teacher didn't leave the classroom and go to another moderation and you talk and make this policy. Meanwhile, those subject moderators don't actually know they don't get a feel of what's actually going on the ground.
Most of them, yes, they are ex-teachers, but they haven't been in an actual classroom for so long that they don't really know what the challenges are. And then because they don't go to most of them, or very few of them ever go to a teacher at a school or to the classroom setup at a school, means that they're completely out of touch. They don't know. They don't know all the challenges.
Yeah, and then obviously they are the ones that are going back to the pen pushers in the department and saying that we need to do this, we need to do that. Meanwhile, they don't actually know what the hell's going on.
And then the pressure on them, especially in the FET band, further education and training phase, that's 10, 11 and 12, the pressure on subject advisors is to make sure that at the end of the day they get matric results. And that's their main focus. That's really their main focus. And so it becomes it's also a political thing, But the focus is, that's what I say, the focus is not on the kids, it's on or not on the effective learning. It's on what does it look like?
It just seems like what you said, the fact that, in the old days, they actually thought about actually getting pure, good, solid results by sending an inspector around a school. Now what they do is they send teachers off to a moderator's little mini conference and they talk and, you don't get any real input there. So it's just, it just seems to me like they window dress and it's a show more than anything tangible. you know.
Yeah, it is, and it's very
Really getting down into the nuts and bolts of things.
for the teachers that want to do their jobs properly. It's extremely frustrating because you're taken out of the classroom. A huge amount of time is wasted with stuff like that, and admin and so-called training, and which, you know, in
Which
the
is
old
also,
days,
which also brings to the next question: what are they doing, bothering training teachers? Then, I mean, are they going to trust? Are they going to trust the training that teachers have given or not? You know, this is the whole idea about professionalism. You know, you have to have, if you're going to train up teachers, let teachers be teachers. You know, you can't. Then what are you doing, wasting all those? You may as well, I don't know, maybe wasting our time even training teachers. You know what I mean? You know, if you're going to go to this sort of lengths, you may as well, you know, train teachers in 1 year rather than 4 years.
Yeah, well,
You know, what do or you're either going to train, you must rather train the teachers to be teachers. You know, that's what I think.
You know, years ago when they had actual teachers training colleges, now they've changed it so everybody must have a teacher's degree, you know, a teaching degree, which means that most of your teachers' studies are academic.
Correct.
So most of them, and especially in the junior part of the school, most of them don't need the academic as much as they need the application,
training.
You know, the actual training, how they're going to do it, you know. So yeah.
And particularly when you're doing it the primary and the primary school phases, that's when you're building the base. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's not enough focus on that either.
Russell and Mark, can I just add something over here? What I'm listening to and stuff. I mean, I don't know much about the educational system and stuff in South Africa, but what it sounds to me is like it's almost like the government wants bad results, and second of all, it's almost like they're busy turning government schools into sort of wings or extensions of the government, with all the red tape and the window dressing and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, well, to a degree, because as I say, it's all about, I mean, at the end of the year, you have all this big hoo-ha about the trick results, and this province has gone up 0.5%, and this one's gone down 2%, and you know, it's like this, or in the Western Cape there's tops, and then it's the Free State, and then it's Gauteng, and wow, whoopie-doo. You know, to me it's, and of course the Eastern Cape is the worst, you know.
Yeah.
Eastern Cape and Limpopo.
Yeah, which is understandable when you see the standard of the schools and the standard of the teachers. Don't like to say it, but it's the truth, you know.
Well, this is
in those provinces, you know.
This is
Schools are terrible, and the standard of the actual teaching is, another story.
Yeah. Another thing, what I thought we would get into. I mean, the thing is, the type of school that you teach at, it's Model C, but it's not like the one of the upper level Model Cs. You know, you've got you know, more so lower to either very middle class parents who send their kids there. It's not a township or farm rural school, but it's a small town school. So you don't have parents with massive amount of resources or anything like that. So that type of school, obviously, things like parent involvement and family issues are play out within the school as well. If you could just try and break down as to what you saw in your 20 years regarding parent and family issues and its impact on children's performance in the classroom.
Yeah, well, you know, you can always tell when a child comes from a good, solid, caring home, and you can, you know, the discipline problems are always with the kid, and that's historical. I mean, that's not new. No, man. Hey. See, dogs. No, I'm not getting up to let you out. No. Go on. On your beds. Go.
Tell those
The
dogs.
dogs. Tell those dogs there, Ma.
At least they listen. The kids don't. It's not so simple. Getting kids to do what you. Hey. Hey. Go. You bad dog.
Yes, Mom. Yes, Mom. Okay, Mom. I'm going.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So
Saying.
yeah. The problem nowadays with parents and with kids is, first of all, parents. A lot of the parents of the kids that give you trouble. 9 times out of 10, the parents still stand up for the child. They will try every means, every which way they can to make the teacher and the school look bad and their kid look good. They'll try whatever, even if they believe the kid's lies or they lie along with the child, So that's on the one side. And then on the other side is the fact that you can't get rid of a real troublemaker child. You just can't,
Yeah, well, the department always sides with the child, don't they?
Yeah.
Like
And
like the authoritative teacher / school / principal is actually an enemy, and it's the poor little child,
Yeah, it's all about the children's rights and how you may not deprive them of an education, even if they don't care anything about their education, but you may not deprive them. So you can't kick. Well, if you do try to kick them out the school, to get them out the school, it's a long process, and it probably. I mean, we've tried it. I don't know how many times at the
It's not
school.
worth the energy.
It's just not worth it. And they can be. I think the only way you'd really find it easy to kick somebody out is if they had, say, attempted to murder somebody.
God.
Or actually, where you could actually lay a criminal charge against them or something.
Something like that, but like for drug taking, all that kind of stuff. You're not going to get a child out of school.
Yeah.
You're going to be stuck with them.
But
once you've got them in the school, you're not going to get them out.
But Mom, poor children, that's very illiberal and authoritarian of you to want to have these children and have some sort of discipline enforced on these children. I mean, you're a terrible authoritarian, you must be.
Yeah, of course.
Wicked.
Yeah.
Wicked. Just utterly horrible.
That's why
there's many liberals that I know personally that would speak like that. I've just spoken. Many.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guarantee you, not one of those liberals got a good solid clap when they were a kid.
And besides that, those parents, their kids have got them completely fooled, and
because their parents are clueless. They're not playing a role to start with. I mean, the thing is, surely, Mom, you had 4 kids, all right? Surely your default setting with regards to your kids' behavior was always one of observance and close observance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You didn't speculate. Well, maybe you actually sought to find out whatever needed to be found out.
And besides that, you kids knew. Kids knew that you better not come back home and tell your dad and I that the teacher had a go at you about something, because we would
get hiding at home again.
Yeah, we would take the teacher's side, and we'd want to know what you did.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, the thing is, generally speaking, I mean, I mean, back in the day, when it came to so-called discipline issues, I remember us getting hidings for failing tests, for goodness sakes, back in the day. You failed
I don't recall treating
No,
you like that?
no,
not
not at home. At school.
Oh, at school. Oh,
At
yeah.
school, yeah, at school. We got jacked for not getting good enough marks in tests.
It sounds absolutely.
I mean, the thing is, I still
authoritarian. That's
remember
terrible. That's
Tony.
like the gulags, man.
I still remember Tony Selby. All right, he gave us a science test back in the day. All right, and it was actually an easy test. Okay, he knew it was an easy test because all we had to do was just learn for it, because it was definitions and what have you. What is this? And it wasn't even the complicated stuff of physical science. It was just a basic test, and half the class didn't perform. So what he did is all the boys, he said, okay, outside lineup, you're all getting a hiding for this.
Well, mostly, I think that was mostly. I think Russell. I think that was mostly because he knew you actually take the piss. That's why.
I felt so offended. He thought because he said, "Well, listen, you little blighters, you just you slapped your ass on me, and I'm going to show you, you know." And I still remember he freaked out because one of the guys, I can't remember who it was, he said, "Yeah, but sir, you said the test was only going to be about definitions, that sort of thing," which it actually was. And he just freaked out even more. He said, "Okay, you first. Get everyone else out. You first. Come here." You know.
Exceptional.
It scarred you for life, didn't it?
Yeah.
You
Listen, it's a
made
great
you hate
story.
school. Hey,
Look, I mean, the thing is, those are the things that if you ask anybody my age and older, those are the things that are the stories that we've got to tell, and we actually enjoy telling the stories. I mean, the thing is, school would have been incredibly boring if you didn't get caned.
Mm-hmm.
At least once or twice a term. You know what I mean?
to some extent.
You know, it would have been incredibly boring. There's just no ways. I mean, I've heard of some people somehow being able to escape or hiding their whole school life. I don't know how the hell you do that. Somehow you're going to do something stupid somewhere. You know.
Not in your day, no.
Yeah.
Well, now you're not even allowed to. I used to flick them on the back of the ear and stuff like that. I knew who to pick on. I mean, I would never. There were some that you just didn't touch because you knew you'd be, you know. But I mean, they knew that I wasn't being malicious, and they never, you know. But I mean, some kids you just dare tap them, you know, and they'll be running to mommy or daddy or the department, you know.
The department.
You know what, Emma? You know what? This is the thing: is that, you know, me talking about certain oaks and people that would say that something as simple as a child asking for permission to go to the toilet is authoritarian and stuff. So it in schools and stuff. Yeah, no, dead serious. This is a real thing, that a child asking permission to go to the toilet is like.
So you must just let them come and go as they want. Is
Yeah,
that what it is?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Do what they want, come and go as they want. They're basically free. So why should we try and discipline them? You know, because they're born free. So, you know, you must just let them be free for the rest of their lives and all of that, until they get out into the big wide world, and the world comes and gives them a fat clap as well. Okay.
Yep.
But anyway, what sort of recourse with regards to discipline and stuff do teachers have nowadays? Absolutely nothing, basically.
Not much, very little. I don't think it has any. You know, you can put them on detention if you want to do more severe punishment like community service, you know, so-called get them to dig in the garden or whatever, but it doesn't They just fool around. It just makes a rod for the teacher's back, because you've got to supervise whatever kind of
Yeah, this is the problem. More
hard
wasting of
labor.
resources.
Yeah, if you're going to get them to scrub the floor somewhere, you got to stand over them and watch them do it, and then you just never know. There might be somebody that decides that kind of punishment is too severe and goes to the department. So there's very little actually that you can do. And then on top of that, if you're talking about a teacher giving you jacks for not passing the test, the way they've structured the promotion, I call it promotion, that's what they call it, promotion of kids nowadays, is shocking, to say the least. Absolutely shocking. I mean, I've sat in many meetings, promotion meetings at the end of the year, and like, for example, you'll have, let's say at the end of grade 9, you'll have a whole bunch, you'll have about teachers on the results and everything will know that there's let's say out of a class, a grade 9 group, all of them, say 100, that there's at least 25 of them that should not go through. They're not ready.
So, Mom, sorry, by promotion, you mean by passing the year, right?
Yeah, getting to the next year. Yeah. They shouldn't go through. And so you sit in a meeting and you come up with all these names, and that it's not going to work with the department. So you've got to go through those 25 again, and you've got to say, okay, we're going to shift that up, and then we have to add some marks in there. And now you only have to have 20% to pass maths. 20%. Yeah.
Good Lord.
To pass maths.
Why do it then? I mean, rather just get the people not, there's pointless even doing
exactly.
it.
So, yeah, and so you sit there, and so you push up a whole bunch of kids, at least half of say 25. Then you're left with about 12 that desperately should not be going through. And then the what they call her, EDO, I can't even remember what that stands for. Don't ask me, but she oversees, she's from the department, and she oversees all the subject advisors, blah, 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 blah. So she comes along because she's got to sign off all the schedules, and she looks at those 12 and she says, no, way too many, way too many. And at the end of the day, out of the 25 that you knew shouldn't pass, maybe about 6 or 7 won't go through, and the rest will get pushed through.
Yeah, well,
you're only
this
allowed
is the
to
issue.
fail once in a phase, once every 3 years. You're only allowed to fail once every 3 years, or not allowed to be promoted once every 3 years. And yeah, that's how it works. And so as a result, it's the standard, and getting back to bad marks, and that the kids know that. They know that their standard is low. They know that they don't have to kill themselves to get through. They know they don't have to. Yeah.
Well, so regardless of
There goes the bell.
there goes that bell. Look, regardless of then the actual education academically, the education life-wise is shocking then, because you're telling kids that they can get through with absolutely, it doesn't matter what happens, it's all cool.
That is exactly where we're at now. Exactly where we're at.
Just terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
It's terrifying. You are breeding a class of individual that is going to make absolutely no contribution to society whatsoever. Not just in an academic
socialism.
sense.
It's socialism in schools.
Yeah, and not only that, it gives them the idea that everything should be easy, and they get out of school, and then we've got this whole bunch, a ridiculous number of people that get university entrance pass, so-called university entrance pass, that shouldn't be going to university. And so they go and half of them drop out after the first year, you know?
Yeah. Because I mean,
So
the thing is, I remember when I left school, university level entry passes or exemptions, as they called them in the old days, of the total matric class. I still remember for my matric result somehow. I can still remember it. It was only about 12, maybe 15% of all matrics actually got matriculation exemption.
that's the way it used to be, yeah. And now what they want, in fact, that's what the department wants. That's what we're supposed to aim for, is 60% of your matrics getting matric passes. I mean,
Oh no, they're out of their minds. They're out of their minds.
Yeah, I'm serious. That's what
They are out of their minds. Out of their
they
minds.
And so what have you got?
60%. 60%. It should
Yep.
never
Wait.
be. I would question anything more than 15.
Well, 20% max. I mean, 20% max, because it used to be about that. You know, when I was first teaching, I used to get about 20% we used to get about 20% of our matrics that would go on to university. And now there's a whole bunch of them that just expect that they must go to university.
I still remember.
So they're going to go and study like actuarial science, but they got like 30% for maths and science and stuff. And now they're going to go study like actuarial science, and I want to be an accountant, and I want to be a lawyer. But you got an average matric pass of like 43% and stuff, and now you're going to go and go and become a university scholar kind of thing. Oh, what a load of crap.
Well, you're going to become a doctor.
I mean, the thing is, I remember it. You know how seldom I saw an A in school, in high school, like standard 9 and 10. You know how seldom I saw an A.
Yeah.
And I was at school with some bright kids. I'm sorry, I was at school with some bright kids, proper bright kids. All right. Yeah. And I'm sorry, you knew the kids I was at school with, Mom. There were some bright ones, properly bright. They never got A's, and they were extremely intelligent. And now, you see these parents gloating on Facebook with 4 A. I go, nonsense. I don't buy it. I'm calling this out. I don't, I go like, even if I was a parent and that was my kid, I'd be extremely skeptical of it. You know what I mean? That the teachers were actually delivering good services. I'm just that type of person, I'm just that natural skeptic that people call me negative, but I'm not,
It's that McLaren skepticism that Mom knows very well.
Yeah, I must have bred it into you. Or worse, got it from your dad. Anyway. For example, I know, for example, how difficult it is to get an A for physical science. I know how difficult it is.
Oh, it's blooming difficult. I remember higher grade science. Higher grade science back in the day was tough.
And the science and the maths is it's definitely not standard grade. It is still it's definitely closer to what used to be higher grade than standard grade. Okay, so I know how difficult it is to get an A. And at the end of last year, one of our one maid here, the helper at the hostel, her daughter, who's now studying medicine, went to Fundani, the local township school, as you know, they hardly had a physical science teacher. I know the physical science teacher at Fundani, and I saw the level of work at these moderations that they were producing from Fundani. I saw it. And this child got an A for physical science at the end of last year.
Nonsense.
And
don't buy it.
As I say, I know how difficult it is. And with the kind of marks that she got at this township school, she would have been way and above the duck scholar at Cathcart High School. Because she got, I think she only got 1 mark in the 60s from a local. And I'm not saying that she didn't work very hard. I'm not saying she's doof or anything like that. But I am saying that they manipulate the matric results. They can deny it, but they do. They manipulate them. They call it standardizing. But
yeah, but I mean, the thing is, standardization. There's standardization and there's standardization. I know also for a fact is what happens is they draw a median, all right, and then they'll mark a paper and they'll make the median. They'll make look. They'll moderate the paper and decide it's a +1 or +2 or -2 or plus or -1%, but it's never more than 3% either way. What I mean by that is that if the paper is moderated +1 and you get 49%, and that was your actual mark, they bump you up by 1% to pass you. That's been around since my day already.
No, that's nothing new.
That's normal.
That's nothing new, but I can guarantee you, we know as teachers, and I'm talking for other teachers that have, we've discussed it, and that we know that the level of the output and the level of the standard that is being reached now is not improving. But if you look at the matric results, those are improving.
Yeah, you see the window dressing again.
It doesn't add up. It doesn't add up, because every single year the teachers talk about it and they say, oh no, if we get 100% pass rate this year, it's going to be a miracle. And what do you know? I don't know how many years in a row we've had that recently, 100% pass rates. And their English, their home language English is so bad that the English teachers are always saying they're not going to pass. They're just not going to pass. And then you even end up with some of those that you think we're not going to pass. Some of them even get university entrance. So
that's shocking.
That is absolutely shocking. That is diabolical.
It's true. I'm sorry. They can. I'm sure if I'd have the ANC on my back if they heard me saying such things. But it's the truth. It's the lived out truth of any teacher that is teaching matrics now. In the high school, they'll tell you the same thing.
Yeah.
If they deny it, then they are lying.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, the thing is, to our listeners, this is why we get uncut people. This is why this is a hot debated subject. This is why we got my mom on the show, simply because we never get, the public at large never gets to hear things like this. So this is exactly why she's on. And I told her specifically she doesn't need to hold back at all. We're not ENCA, you know what I mean? We're not... we're not the Sunday Crimes or,
we know that,
But anyway, talking about you mentioned the ANC and all that sort of thing. One of the real hot topics as well, with regards to the departments of education and teaching and that sort of thing, is the political influence, and particularly the undue influence of unions and their power and stranglehold within politics. Can you just elaborate a bit of your experiences there?
Yeah, well, from our perspective, I don't know how to put it, but yeah, it is the biggest teacher union, SADTU, and they wield a lot of political influence, as you know, and for them, the majority of those so-called teachers, it's all about having a teachers union is all about improving their conditions, mostly to do with pay, basically. And they really, most of them, maybe that's unfair to say that, but Okay, let's be fair. Let's say 50%. I'll be generous. 50, at least half of them are just in it to see what they can get out of it. They're not there for any particular passion to actually improve the standards or anything like that. And and they have ruined, SADTU has ruined South African education. Because
for teachers, pupils, schools, all around,
they've ruined it. It's their fault.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zwelinzimi Vavi.
Well, he's out of it now, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he was, but he was a SADTU henchman for ages, and then he went up through, so he comes from SADTU,
Yeah, no, he does.
He was the main power broker that set everything up, although he's not there anymore. He set the wheels in motion.
Yeah.
Make no mistakes about that.
Yeah, and teaching should be like an essential service. It shouldn't be. I'm not saying you shouldn't have any unions, but if the union's focus is just the teachers, it can't be. It shouldn't be. It should be about improving education generally, not about how you're going to wangle everything to make it nice for the teachers. And not that they've managed to get it nice for the teachers, because most of the conditions for most of the teachers in South Africa are absolutely appalling to teach in, with classes of 50 to 60 kids and maybe more in a classroom, So they haven't made that their main focus. They haven't made that their main focus. What they've made their main focus is on their conditions of service,
So it's basically they're trying to turn, they're going overboard, not for education as a whole, but just for their members, to put them in well-paid, protected employment.
Yeah, no, because if they were really concerned about the standard of education, they would have done something as a union to work towards that, The other teachers' unions are much more education focused, whereas SADTU is mostly educator focused,
Yeah, there was they're not. I mean, the thing is, they see themselves as mere. It's a selfish sort of thing. They don't see them they don't see teachers as part of a greater system. They see teachers just as individual service providers, and then they're just going to protect their interests. Done, to hell with the rest.
Yeah.
I've always. That's generally speaking as well. I mean, the thing is, unions don't really do much even for workers generally. And all SADTU has done, it hasn't even improved things majorly for teachers. It's just wrecked the whole system as a whole for the parents and kids and everybody involved.
Yeah, it's true.
So they haven't really done anything good. They haven't made positive contributions anyway.
Definitely not in this part of the world. I mean,
no,
definitely not in the Eastern Cape. Maybe.
No. Well, look, I mean, you're talking. We got you on because, you are at the coalface in the type of environment that is more the reality on the ground in South Africa, than say a government school in a large metro suburban area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're more closer to the coalface in yours. You're not at a township school, but you are at least closer to the coalface than many other situations. Like in our local suburb here. You're a little bit closer to the realities of the ground, on the ground. But this is the whole thing with teachers and it just seems it's a political hot potato, and too much politics in it. And what you said with the manipulation of matric results, the window dressing, the ridiculous admin processes, the keeping less child focused education and more just ticking boxes. It's a lot of window dressing, and and also holistically, even our children are being taught in the schools, besides the academic part, the life skills and life attitudes part, that hey, this is a breeze, just coast right along, which is the worst possible. That is the worst possible thing you can do.
Yeah.
You know, you just can't have that.
That is, yeah, and like I say, they know that it, you know, that your kids rise to your level of expectation, and if they think that they can get away with stuff, then they will,
Well, that's natural human state,
Yeah, that's the way. Yeah.
You know.
So, yeah, why do they need to perform? Why do they need to try?
Yeah, exactly.
Worry. Why should they
But
worry?
just we're going to start closing off the show now. But in your 26 years of teaching, obviously, you had a great amount of challenges, and it's a lot of hard work. Teachers work long hours and what have you. What for you was a very rewarding part of the last 20 odd years? And also, we've spoken about the challenges, but what were your challenges also called your worst part, your best and worst for the last 20 years? If you can just give a breakdown of that.
Well, for me, the most rewarding part of teaching, and the thing that I miss the most is the just the feeling that you are making an impact on somebody's life, and that, and and the fact that you can actually, there are lovely kids that you teach. In fact, majority of the kids aren't very nice, really, they are, and you can have good relationships with them. You can, I mean, there's many that still come knocking on the door, how are you, Mrs. Mac? Just had to come and see you. That to me, and the fact that there's many, there's many that I keep in touch with that have done well, become doctors, become physiotherapists, I'm talking about in my field, hey, go away. Now we've got the cat here. Yeah, that for me was the most rewarding, knowing that you that you've had an impact. On
and also, and just knowing that you've been a part of somebody's life who's gone on to make their life count.
Yeah, and for some of them, they came from some of them came from pretty humble backgrounds and that, and the fact that you can see them going to another level, not like staying where they are, and that to me is what teaching is actually all about,
Yeah, that's basically the fruits that are born of all your labor.
Yeah, that to me has been the best part, and it's been the part where I've got the best memories, and just the joking around with kids, and just yeah, that as I say, most of the kids that I've taught have been nice, and then you get the horrible ones and they spoil the whole mix, but generally those are my good memories. What my worst ones? I would say the hardest part has been watching and knowing that there's nothing you can do about the fact that education is not what it was, There goes the other bell. Education is that all teachers know I mean, they definitely know that the education is going down, you know, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing. You can do your bit, your individual bit, but you know that it's not what it should be. It's not what it should be.
Russell, don't put your hand over the microphone like that, bro. Sorry, it makes feedback when you do that.
And then, you know, and the increasing discipline problems and, you know, that kind of thing. And the you know, watching that deterioration over the years, I think that to me has been the hardest part, you know, knowing that things are not getting better. They should be getting better, shouldn't they? I mean, it's, you know, in a country that got so many skills shortages and so many needs, and our education system doesn't address those needs, and they still are completely oblivious to the reason why we have such a skills shortage, and why the matric is not really doing it for most kids, you know. So it's the elephant in the room, but nobody's seeing it. Nobody wants to see it. Nobody wants to say.
It's quite blatant, actually. It's right in front of them. It's in your face. Like you say, it's a white elephant.
They keep trying to force these kids through like a sausage machine and into things that they're not cut out for, and then they get out in the world and they can't get a job because nobody needs that kind of skill that they've got, because the system has failed them, you know. Whereas they could be learning a very good trade or you know, some practical skill, but no, they've got to get this academic matric for what?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, the thing is, they should rather just, people that in grade 10 should actually just leave school if they can't pass any further and go and find something practical to do.
Well, that's how we see it as teachers.
You know, but it's very, look, it is a tragic situation, but I mean, the thing is, the reason why we got you on the show is to actually let enough people know. A lot of people are completely oblivious, you know, to what teachers are really thinking. Teachers don't really give an opportunity to speak their mind. I'm sure you, as a recently retired one, now can speak your mind openly without fear of any sort of repercussion. You know, it's, you know, we just cannot allow you know, it to remain silent, you know. People have to, the word has to simply get out there.
Yeah, I'm not saying that, you know, there are some, I mean, jeepers, there really are some good schools, there are some good teachers, you know, and in every situation you're going to find those good teachers, you know, but the system is not working. It's not working, you know.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, the thing is,
because it's politically motivated, you know.
Yeah, education is highly politically charged, and that is essentially one of the biggest problems generally. From what you've said, politicizing the whole thing is a major issue.
And for me, the ANC government has never really wanted, it's all window dressing that they say they want educated people. They don't want them. They're not worried. They're not worried because that's where their voting base is. People that can't think for themselves, people that can't read and write properly, you know.
Yep. They want to keep the machine that's creating useful idiots just carrying on and carrying on and carrying on.
I've always said that. Yeah.
The closer they can go to, this is the thing, is the closer that they can go to where it starts. So they've already destroyed the family by making everyone reliant on the state and stuff. So that's where it starts. But there's also, now that they've destroyed the family, they realize, well, hang on, there's a chance that through the child's schooling that he could sort of develop an education and all this sort of thing. We must destroy that too.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
the
we'll keep some of them just enough to keep the economy ticking over, but we really and now of course, that what do they say, the chickens have come home to roost, because now it's getting critical. Now it's critical. Now we need those skills, and where are they? We don't have them.
Yeah, one of the
Why?
interesting things, one of my Facebook contacts that I've corresponded with a lot over the last year or so, he says these unemployed graduates and what have you, so-called educated youngsters, he says a lot of them, they've gone and studied stuff that's irrelevant or whatever, but somebody told them that they should automatically get this lacquer job because they so-called educated. So what have they done? Instead of actually reskilling themselves or anything, a lot of them have done. Joined the EFF.
Yeah.
That's why the EFF has got so many so-called educated people. Most of your EFF, not just the leaders. I'm talking about your middle and lower level members, and a lot of your voters are actually fairly well educated. A lot of people think that they're not, but they actually are. It's like a rent-seeking bureaucracy type individuals, unemployed graduates who think they're too good to do anything else, so they're going to become the next bourgeois type of thing,
Yeah.
It's exactly that.
Educated. Yeah.
Because they are educated automatically,
Yeah, they're going to be the next bourgeois, the next champagne socialists. They're the ones that are gonna get to wear those Gucci suits and those Armani shoes like their lord and emperor Julius Malema,
Champion of the poor.
Yeah, champion of the poor guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, are we done, Russell? Are we finishing?
Yeah, look, we've done. I think we've covered everything. I think this interview is going to be a hit with our listeners. So I'm very, very happy to have had my mother on. She gets to air her voice that we've heard over the years. But it was an opportunity for her to come and tell her story and let the rest of the country know exactly what is the situation in the South African education system. So thanks, Mom. Pleasure having you on.
Hope it hasn't been too negative.
We'll. Well, look. I mean, the thing is, we can't just say we don't want to be negative. We have to look at the facts of the case. I'm not negative. You've balanced it with positive and negative, but you can't ignore the obvious things. We're not fools. That's foolishness. There's a final. You can't just. We don't be foolish. That's what I say first and primarily. But anyway, thanks.
Can I finish off with something here that I wanted to mention? A little story. You and Mom both know the story, Russell. But I want to finish it off with a story which is kind of a testament to what makes my mom incredibly happy to be a teacher and all of that, and the fruits that she bore. The one day, doing some grocery shopping at Food Lovers, and I was pushing my trolley, and there was a guy in front of me in the trolley, and he stopped me and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I didn't know who this guy was, but he was looking at me funny. I kind of looked at him, and then he looked at me and he said, "You're Scott McLaren, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, who the hell are you?" So he said, "My name's so and so." I can't remember his name. Yeah, Siyabona. Yeah, my name's Siyabona, and your mother taught me in school. And I was like, "Oh wow, so Mrs. Mack taught you and stuff?" And he's like, "Yes, Mrs. Mack. She's very special to me." And he said this thing that it's powerful to hear this, but he said that in his own words, he said, and again, it's in his own words. I don't remember the exact conversation, but he basically said that if it wasn't for my mother and the support that you showed him as a student and as a teacher, as his teacher, he wouldn't be where he is today. And today he's actually a doctor and very, very,
Smart kid.
yeah, very,
Very-
very
You know-
good kid.
You know what I liked about teaching Siyabona when we were doing, when we were doing problems in, physical science problems and so on, I could always say to him, "Did you get that answer too, Siyabona?" And I could always check if I got the right answer. He was that sharp. Yeah.
So he was that brilliant. You see, this is the thing, is that there are some incredibly talented children out there, and unfortunately, because of the government system, they are dragging those kids in, and they all get lumped in. Everyone, just the brilliant oaks, get lumped in with all the the oaks and the swak spun and that sort of thing, which is, it's just not fair on anyone.
Yeah. Egalitarianism on steroids.
Yeah, that's exactly that.
All right.
One day I'm going to have to, when I'm on holiday down there sometime, I'm going to have to get a crash course on all these terms that.
You got to get woke, man. You got to get woke.
Got to get woke, Mom.
Libertarians and egalitarians and all that. I don't even understand most of the stuff that your friends say on. I'm just like, what are they talking about?
Mom,
what the heck is
Mom,
this?
it's not libertarians, it's lolbatarians.
Lolbatarians.
I don't get it. I don't know. Yeah.
Anyway,
that was a good. Anyway, that was.
Thank you so much for. Yeah, we need to close up, Russell. So can you?
I've said everything I need to say. We ended on a light-hearted note, not too serious. And yeah, thanks, Mom, so much.
Okay, it was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Remember, guys, like our Facebook page, subscribe to the channel, like the videos as well. We'll see you guys all at the next episode. Thank you so much for listening. Stay reactionary out there, because
God wills it.